Nothing pisses me off more in the business field and especially entrepreneurship than people who think they were first to something, especially if that thing is like you are genuinely not first. Now, of course, examples are the best way to go about explaining things. There's no point being cryptic about this. One of the biggest examples is in fashion. Now, I need to put a disclaimer because I know a good amount of people who have fashion brands or they have something that I'm about to describe. I'm not talking about you. Please don't dislike the video. But I have to talk about this because I'm just seeing it so often. And I saw it recently and it was my last straw. The best example I can think of is Christian clothing brands. Now, everyone thinks that they are the first of their kind, that nobody else is working on this thing. But I'm here to tell you it's no one else that you know of. And ignorance is bliss. Sometimes if you haven't seen it or you pretend to not look at it at all, it will feel like nobody else is doing it. At least no one's doing it the way that you feel like it should be done. Whether it's music or clothing or art, especially inside of niche fields where it's something that people are really passionate about. Christian music, Christian art, Christian baby clothing, right? Everyone feels like, being a Christian is really hard and no one's really servicing us, that well. And then they go on to make something that, let me chill. But this is true for lots of other things, right? Nobody's making the type of music for X, and nobody is really servicing this market the way that I feel like it should be serviced. And while innovation comes from this, and necessity is the mother of invention, what I'm particularly pissed off about is the lack of research and blatantly not doing research because you do not want that claim to firstness to be wrong. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. My name is Mr.Yyetti, and I believe that the way that we conduct business is the same way that we conduct our personal lives, and vice versa. If that sounds like your cup of tea, make sure to subscribe so you stay notified of all of our future and weekly videos. Now, let's talk about why you are probably not first at your business idea and why that's okay. Inside of my own experience, and right now I'm trying to build a startup, and one of the things that I very early on made sure that I didn't do was assume that I was the first to think about the thing that I want to do, right? It's scary and it's daunting, and this happened to me actually recently. I did a lot of research and I was like, okay, people aren't necessarily doing it the way that I'm thinking of doing it. And I found this one company and I'm reading and I'm like, whoa, these guys are really similar, right? And at first, that's a really scary thought because it feels like, okay, well, I'm done. Like, I'm finished. Like, pack up the whole company, right? That's not the way that it works. Imagine Google said that after ChatGPT came out. Imagine Cursor and Anthropic said that after ChatGPT came out. Imagine Apple said, oh man, BlackBerry already made a phone. I guess the game is up, right? That's not how it works. There is still innovation to be had, but it won't start from you neglecting and completely ignoring the fact that those things exist. You have to look at them and study them and see what they actually are with the intent of actually learning about it so you understand how to be different. But a lot of people don't want to learn more about it because it'll just depress them and they feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to be exactly like these guys. And like there's no better way to say it than that ignorance is bliss. But you don't need to be first at whatever it is you do. In fact, you don't want to be first. In the history of companies that have been first at a market position, most of them, and I really can't think of an example of one that survived, most of them are not the number one leader. Whether that's Uber, whether that's PlayStation, whether that's Nintendo, and like they leapfrog over each other all the time. But being first just means that you're first, and that's it. And maybe, people will use you to reference an entire, action. Maybe you become a verb or you become like the leading noun, like Kleenex, and how people don't say, oh, pass me a tissue. I need a Kleenex, right? They have that, but how valuable is that? I don't know, right? Or, oh, yeah, I'm Ubering over there, or I'll Uber you or whatever, right? But Uber isn't necessarily the industry leader. I'm pretty sure. Someone fact check me, right? Someone might say I'm taking an Uber and they'll do a Lyft. I do that all the time, right? I'll be using Hop and I'll say, oh, yeah, I'm Ubering there, right? But the other side is that there is actually nothing wrong with copying. And if that's true, which it is, there's nothing wrong with being copied either. Think about it. And my professor said this in a class of mine that I'm taking. He said, would you really want an idea that nobody wants to copy? Like, how good of an idea is that really, right? So when you take it away from the personal, which we'll talk about, you start to just see this all as a big game. You know what I mean? I did a marketing simulation for one class, and my team was first place the entire simulation. We won it. What can I say? But there were many times in the simulation where our second place competitors got really close. And that's because they started copying our strategy sometimes, right? And it makes sense. Why would you not copy what's working? And why would I take it personally and say, you guys are cheating, you guys are copying us? That's how the market works, right? The market tends towards whatever is working, right? And it equalizes itself in that way. So it's not a matter of, oh yeah, nobody copy what I'm doing. Obviously, there's IP and there's copyright and whatever, right? But to an extent, people will copy you. So it's up to you to prove that you are the better business person and stay ahead of them. But you're not going to do that by lying to yourself and customers and saying nobody in the market is doing this. No one has Christian hoodies that have a cross on them. No one's doing this, right? No one's making Christian rap. Like, we need that. Like, bro, what are we really talking about? It's better to say that you copied someone or took a lot of inspiration from something than sound like an idiot who genuinely thinks that they are the first at something. No one will take you seriously because it's just not true, right? And anyone who does 5 seconds of a Google search will find out that that is not true, right? So why even try to argue? Why spend any mental brain power trying to convince people that no, I really am the first at doing this. Look at the way that I tailored it and the message and my word craft, and it's pointless. There's nothing wrong with being inspired. And you should copy from a lot of people and amalgamate that into something unique, right? But a lot of people don't know how to do that. And a lot of people just copy anyways, but don't want to admit it. So it's easier to just say, oh yeah, this is straight from the noggin, right? In marketing, we have a concept called blue and red oceans. And honestly, blue oceans are just a way to illustrate what a red ocean is, right? Like, you're using the antonym because it helps you illustrate like this word, but it's not like the antonym actually exists, right? So let me be practical. There's no such thing as a blue ocean. Blue oceans do not exist anymore. They are long gone. And honestly, really try to think about what a blue ocean even is. So what this is that we have markets where, you're a first mover. No one else is really doing, anything inside of this industry. And red ocean, and it's red because, inside of like a sea battle, all the blood, makes it red, right? That's like a highly contested, competitive market, right? And we teach these two things inside of marketing, but most people understand there's no such thing as a blue ocean anymore. So if you come to anyone, potential customers, people who are interested in your ideas, and you try to tell them, oh yeah, I have this clothing idea and it's a blue ocean. Wow, good luck, right? Doesn't exist. So there's no point even spending time trying to find a blue ocean. Just find a different way to be inside of the red ocean, right? Globalization has made it that there's kind of really nothing new under the sun. And if you found something that is new under the sun, start building, right? Because a good idea goes a long way. And someone inside of North America who has the idea, chances are 5 other people around the world have thought of it too and are maybe trying to amass the funds and the personnel to get going, right? If your fear is that you won't feel original by not being able to say that this doesn't exist anywhere else, then maybe find a higher hanging fruit. There's nothing wrong with low hanging fruit. There are people who are quite wealthy who are running dollar stores and convenience stores. And, maybe they drive a taxi, right? And, there's nothing wrong with these occupations. There's nothing wrong with owning a company that does these occupations, right? But you won't find these people lying to themselves and saying, oh, yeah, no one else has a taxi company. Right? Like, that's just silly, right? So if that's really such a thing for you that like when I work on something, I have to be the first at it, fair enough. I'm not here to tell you don't think that way. But maybe you don't make it like Christian anything because all of that already exists. Don't make it some like, oh yeah, there's no video games for the real gamers and there's no RPGs that really tug at the heartstring. Like that's silly. You know what I mean? Like that's silly. Like I'm sure Expedition 33, I'm sure the developers weren't like, oh yeah, no one else has an RPG. No one else is doing parrying. There's no other parry games, right? Like, that's just not the case. It's like, okay, this thing exists and there's a lot of games for it. We're just gonna make a really good one, right? Don't be married to an idea and then try to make it sound great. Do it the other way. You should have something that's great and sounds great, and then you slowly get married to it as the market tells you that this is a really good idea. I've seen a lot of people who really want to make a song or an album about something, and now they have to add all these meanings to something they already created. Same with art. We see it all the time. I do this sometimes with photography. I take a really good picture and I'm like, yeah, this represents the duality of man. And don't be silly, right? Art, it's whatever, right? People can forgive that. But if you're making that your whole business thing where it's like, yeah, this clothing, I've always wanted to make Christian clothing. But when I put the cross at the side of the heart, it's because Jesus lives there. Like, bro, what are we talking about now? Now, as you could probably tell, I'm religious, right? So I get a lot of kicks out of seeing all of this because I know it's just really silly, right? And I'm sure that this is the case for other denominations and other religions and other, anything that like humans are really passionate about, there's probably this for that, right? But I'm giving, Christians a hard time because I think more people need to give us a hard time. What do you think? Do you find yourself doing this? Have you been seeing this around? Let me know in the comments and let me know what you think about, what I'm saying, because what do I know?